Hi, Max Flower from Marina Del Rey. This question has to do with human nature. You've met a lot of people throughout your life, and some of whom have been very remarkable. What has surprised you the most about human nature, particularly in the last several years?
The one thing that has surprised me all my life is how many people with high IQs do massively stupid things. And it's now, if you go to academia, you go into a great faculty department. I said this once at the Michigan Law School. It says, nobody in my law school would be surprised by highly intelligent people doing massively stupid things. So it happens everywhere. But it is surprising how extreme the stupidity is and how talented the people are who do them. And I think the human mind was almost made to misfunction in a lot of different ways. And so I do think it's quite surprising, and it makes the world a very dangerous place. Because the man with whom you trust, because he's your physician, your doctor, your investment manager, what have you, can go plumb crazy. And so I would say, give an example of what surprised me. I'm used to doctors who think a procedure that's good for them is good for you, and are wrong. But in Redding, California, a couple of doctors rose who gave everybody who consulted them open heart surgery. And they really convinced themselves that everybody needed open heart surgery, that this kind of a normal heart was a widowmaker. And that if you replaced it with carbon or nylon or something, they were way better off. They did massive amounts of open heart surgery. Now, I expect the worst of human nature, but they had the feeling they were doing the right thing and really helping the patients. That surprised me. I'm always being surprised by something like that. It seems impossible. How could anybody behave that way? And how could it go on for year after year? Tenet was sending its other executives up there to learn how to run this, other hospitals this way. And by the way, the surgical results were wonderful. Nobody survives open heart surgery better than the guy who doesn't need it at all. So that kind of surprise I get all the time. Don't you find that case surprising?
Yeah.
It's sort of like a confirmation bias or something, that people want to believe their own results or their own theories.
No, it's incentive cost bias. They were making money and status, and they were demonstrating skills and so forth. But it's so extreme, you'd think that couldn't happen. And if it did happen, you'd think it would be identified by other people early. It ran on for years. What their bosses were doing is trying to get their other hospitals to have the same results. Amazing.
Were they sued?
What?
Were they sued?
Of course. What happened was that they did take away the doctors' licenses, but nobody went to jail.
That's mad.
You'd think they'd go to the lowest circle of hell, but they didn't. They just lost their licenses. A little closer to your mouth.
This technology is too much for me. No. Do you have any morning procedures or rituals that you use to which you might attribute your tremendous productivity in life? Is the first question. And the second question is, do you have any comments on the passing of one of the greats of 20th century, Lee Kuan Yew?
I'm not following the second question. Oh, yes. Well, well, I like people who serve me puffballs. Number one, I eat whatever I want to eat. I've never paid any attention to my health. I've never done any exercise I didn't want to do. And the idea would improve my life. And if any successes come to me, it came because I insisted on thinking things through. That's all I was capable of doing in life, was thinking pretty hard about trying to get the right answer and then acting on it. I didn't ever learn to do anything else. So all these people think they're going to get ahead by jogging or something. More power to them. As far as Lee Kuan Yew is going, I just realized I'd made a mistake when he died. I'm going to commission a bust of Lee Kuan Yew and stick it somewhere important. That is the most important governmental leader. It's the most important nation builder that ever existed in the history of the world. There is no other record equal to Lee Kuan Yew's. Unbelievable achievement. A malarial swamp turned into a modern civilized powerhouse, and then using that example to utterly change and transform China. And not only China, but Vietnam. It was the example of Lee Kuan Yew that the North Koreans, of all people, turned to turn Vietnam into a powerhouse that's civilizing. There's never been a career like what Lee Kuan Yew's. He did two things that strike me, demonstrate how smart he was. There was one person in Lee Kuan Yew's high school that was smarter than he was.
His wife.
And it was a female 1 year older, so he married her. And of course, his son is, all the children are successful, and the son is the Prime Minister of Singapore. Yeah. This guy just is very rational. And other people went for the lady with the most curvaceous whatever. He hired the one that got higher grades than he did, and she was the only one who did. And he had this practical judgment. Peter Kaufman loves the story of when he came to power. He's surrounded by Muslims who hate him. He has no assets, no army, no nothing. He's in a dangerous position. He realizes that in his new nation, he has to have an army. And he asks the world to help him create an army, a defense system. Everybody in the world declines. After all, it's a malarial swamp. And one country says, we'll help you. And it was Israel. He said, how can I have Israel help me when the Muslims hate Israel and I'm surrounded by Muslims who hate me? He solved his problem. He accepted help from the Israelis and he told everybody they were Mexicans. Anyway, there's never been anything like it. And it's been a privilege to live in the same world with a man who accomplishes so much and has used so much discipline and intelligence and decency. He totally eliminated bribery. When he went on his anti-corruption kick, one of the first person that succumbed was, it wasn't his best friend, it was almost his best friend. And when the guy committed suicide, the wife came to him, who was also a friend, and said, Chinese culture, it's committing suicide is a loss of face for the family. Can we cover the suicide up? He said, I cannot help you in any way. This guy was very tough about getting done what had to be done. Singapore was a very corrupt place. And if his example causes China to clean up, which looks to me like it's a better than 50% bet, it'll be one more unbelievable example of the achievements of probably the most admirable man, judging by consequences, of any with whom I've shared the planet. So I'm glad you mentioned him. How are you smart enough to know how good Lee Kuan Yew was? What's your background?
I just read about you all the time, that's all.
Well, I've got an echo.
It's a privilege and honor to be here. I want to thank you all for your things that I learned from you. You are the best teacher I had in my life. My question is, what's your advice to a 30-year-old individual who wants to achieve financial freedom through investing?
Well, achieving success through investments has been pretty easy in my lifetime. If you were rational and disciplined and you had a tailwind of a 10% per annum on average going for you pre-tax from carefully selected stocks, that was a big tailwind. And if you saved your money and you lived within your means and were shrewd and so forth, that was enough to take care of you. Just a little discipline and saving and the passage of time would do it. Now, if the world is going to get 10% out of indexes, which I don't think it will in the future in kind of real terms, getting more has proven to be quite difficult. And some of you who come along later are finding that if you stay in the big stocks, it's damn near impossible for most people. And when things are damn near impossible, maybe you should stop trying. That was not my system, but I do not recommend my system to everybody. I do as a way of life, but I don't think all you have to do is read Charlie Munger and you get rich. If it were that easy, why, this place would be a football stadium.
Charlie says the way to get rich is to keep $10 million in your checking account in case a good deal comes along.
By the way, that was the advice of Howard Amundsen to a young bunch of starving graduates. Rich people sometimes get a little pompous.
If you were to redesign an education system, public and higher, knowing what you know now about what's been important in your life, what ideas would you consider it important to include and to avoid?
Well, I have watched some of the smartest people in the world try to improve primary education, and it's proved amazingly resistant to improvement. And I've watched universities struggle. I would say in the liberal arts, there's a lot of craziness. And I don't know exactly why. I think there's a lot of envy. You get a lot of very bright people who aren't paid very well. Their main power is to give some student an A or a C. Something makes the liberal arts professors, on average, a little crazy by my standards. I like them all, and I'd probably prefer they marry into the family than people from a lot of other professions. But there's a lot of crazy alienation in the liberal arts professors of the modern world. So I think education is very hard to fix. I think the technical education keeps getting better and better and better. And they keep driving people harder and harder and harder. So I think that's one of the glories of the world. And I think the other education is getting better too. But it's got some very irritating defects.
Hi, Mr. Munger. My name is Alan Smolensky. I own a slowly dying subscription newspaper in Pacific Palisades, 88 years old, founded by Telford Work, who was the publisher here at the Daily Journal for many years. My question is about reading and about newspapers. I'm struggling now that I have 2 young children at home, trying to have a third on the way, and I don't know how much time I need to be dedicating to my papers and my reading that I'm missing from the kids, and I kind of feel like a jerk sitting in a dark room with the door closed, hearing the kids, and do I want those memories versus reading? So I wonder, with so many kids you had, how did you balance your reading, and did you fluctuate the number of papers that you had in your driveway?
I have the kind of mind that when I want to read something, I can tune everything else out. And so the people aren't even present. In fact, I frequently sit in a room and converse with dead people while the living people around me are irritated. So I don't think you should try my methods. It's a miracle they work for me. But I will say this, I know no wise person who doesn't read a lot. I suspect that you can read on the computer now and get a lot of benefit out of it. But I doubt if it'll work as well as reading print worked for me. And I think people who multitask pay a huge price, and they think they're being extra productive, and I think they're occupying. I use the metaphor of the one-legged man in the ass-kicking contest. I think when you multitask so much you don't have time to think about anything deeply, you are giving the world an advantage you shouldn't do. And practically everybody is drifting into that mistake. Concentrating hard on something that's important is, I can't succeed at all without doing it. I did not succeed in life by intelligence. I succeeded because I have a long attention span.
Hi, Charlie. Here.
The man with the mic should speak.
My name is Ninja. I'm a Chinese living in Austin, Texas. First of all, thank you so much for all your teachings and wisdom imparting. I'm personally taking on the multidisciplinary approach in life and collecting a lot of folios and humanities. It's a lot of fun, and I can see things much clearer now. And so, thank you very much for all of that. My question is regarding to the Asian population in the United States. I think a good portion of a lot of us go to the elite universities in the U.S., such as Stanford and Caltech, and a lot of us have above average performance in school and have better job after school, but very few of us make it to the top of the field, and this is especially so in the investing world. So I was wondering, why do you think that is the case? Are there any, guns, deals, and germ that's in the Confucius system that's working against us in this nation?
No, what's working against you is the laws of arithmetic. It's a strange thing, but exactly 99% of the people are in the bottom 99%. And that will always be true no matter what. So of course very few people get to the top 1%. In fact, only 1% get there.